make a difference.
Make a difference. Oh,
yeah. You got to make a difference. If you're not making a difference in life, then what are you doing?
Yeah. You are tuned in to the Central Texas Business Podcast. We are coming at you from the Dam Studio at Lake Belton Barbershop in Belton, Texas. We are here to share the stories of local, regional, and national business owners on their journey of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are excited to have you join us for today's episode. Let us dive into the show and unlock greatness. So, Davis, welcome to the show. Let's go ahead and start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself. What you're doing, kind of full-time, part-time, where you're from, and things like that. What you got?
So, was raised for the first part of my life in Weir, a little town outside of Georgetown. And we moved into Round Rock shortly thereafter. Grew up there the rest of my life, from pretty much elementary school through high school. Started the career path of, I would say, public service, more or less. When I was about 15, I started as started the Explorer program at Liberty Hill Fire Department and worked my way up. Decided that I really liked medicine. Got my certification, my EMT certification, the senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
Just going into the senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And finished that up. Initially wanted to be a firefighter. Decided that, medicine is a passion of mine. I really wanted to do that.
Okay.
Got a scholarship into the next program, the advanced EMT course and then paramedic course. So obviously followed through with that, right?
Yeah.
Can't turn that down.
Oh, for sure.
And finished that up, and immediately following, I don't even think we were graduated yet. Dr. Elsbecker, our medical director, Hydrelief medical director, and the founder of the company, he's the one that started it up, sent an email out to our school and was looking for employees. And he's like, hey, we're looking for up-and-coming medics.
And there you were.
And there I was. I was like, dude, this is great. I was in a job that I was ready to get out of and pursue different careers, especially as a paramedic. And I was like, man, this is perfect. Get my foot in the door and let's rock it. So I hit him up, and we had an interview at a local coffee shop. At the time, Hydrelief was not even running yet. It was just an idea. Yeah. So I think I was 20. Not even old enough to go in the bars. So,
but you're taking care of the guys, and we'll get there. But you're taking care of the guys that have gone. Exactly.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of a struggle initially in the beginning. I did more or less pounding the pavement, walking around, handing out B12. But he decided to give me some, I guess, put some faith towards me and give me a job with Hydrelief. And that's kind of where my journey with them started. And that's kind of been my biggest background. So started working with them. Shortly thereafter, got a job at Williamson County. So I work for Williamson County EMS as well. And here we are now.
Yeah, man. So you said that you basically gained a passion for medicine early on. Was there a high school teacher, or what do you think kind of started that fire for you?
So the person that actually started the fire was my aunt. She was on the board, the fire board in Liberty Hill. And so she used to live in Liberty Hill. And I don't know exactly what started the passion of it. I don't know what exactly was like, hey, this might be fun. But she wanted me to explore it. And no pun intended with the Explorer program. But she ended up talking with, I guess, the fire chief that was there at the time and seeing if there's positions open. Discovered there was, in fact. She actually passed away the month before I started at Liberty Hill. And so, of course, I had to follow through that passion and follow that dream. So she was definitely the reason that I got started in all of this. And then I think the person that I looked up to was my Uncle Carl. He's actually a paramedic.
All right.
And so wanted to follow in his steps. I thought that what he did was so cool. And
for sure.
He did all of it. He did all kinds of stuff in public service. And man, I was like, man, that's awesome. I got to do something like that.
Yeah. Serving other people. I mean, that's being, myself being a teacher, like there's nothing like it, being able to serve people and you enjoy doing it. And EMS, I'm sure you guys get to deal with a different side of the public than a lot of people see. And I'm sure that is crazy at times.
It's interesting, that's for sure. It's never a dull moment.
Right. So it's very interesting that you're talking about your aunt and your uncle. And I didn't really ask you this earlier, but how mentorship on that? And I know you said your aunt passed before, and then talking about your aunt and uncle, and then Dr. Elsbecker too, and him seeing something in you, obviously, that maybe some others didn't whenever you were 20 years old. But what is that like? What is it? I mean, being mentored, do you see it as being mentored, or, I mean, what is your feeling on that?
I definitely think that they, especially my aunt, certainly guided me and mentored me through my life. She was a huge part of my life and made me part of who I am today. Gave me some morals and beliefs to follow for sure. And then entered Dr. Elsbecker, who really took me under his wing and showed me the ropes. And I mean, I have so much to thank for him. I mean, he's been incredible to me in growing my career, not only with Hydrelief, but just in life in general. He's certainly provided me and is definitely somebody I look up to and a huge mentor for me.
Yeah, for sure. So on, you were talking about being at EMS, Williamson County, and being, fairly young. I mean, you don't have to tell everybody how old you are, but when you started about 20 years old. But with that, I'm sure you kind of understand some people's young passions of starting their own business and starting to work, wanting to work for themselves. And we were discussing earlier how it's hard to pass up that Wilco, retirement. So you're still going to be working at least 4 more years for them. Yeah. But there's still that thing inside of you that's, hey, what makes you want to work for yourself? What's that look like?
So great question. Like I said in the beginning, I have always had a passion for medicine, especially when I was younger, and it's only grown. I mean, it grows every day, it seems. And wanting to work, for the idea of working for myself or owning my own business has always been a big idea in my head. I've always thought that was awesome. I think the biggest goal for me is making a change. And they say you die twice. It's when you physically die and when the last time that your name is said or last time you're thought about. And I want to make sure that I don't die a second time. Yeah. So I want to be remembered, and I want to be remembered for good. Yeah. And so I want to make some kind of change in medicine. Right now, the goal is to improve preventative care. And that's a huge goal for Hydrelief. And I think hopefully that's going to be a good fuel to the fire, at least, and provide that kind of leverage into changing how medicine, because right now we're very much reactive. There's not a whole lot of preventative medicine. It's like, hey, let's take diabetes, for instance. You've been eating sugar, type 2 diabetes, you've been eating sugar and all kinds of nasty junk food and all this, and now all of a sudden you have diabetes. Well, what caused it? Why? What was all that junk food? Instead of sending them to the ER and getting them treated, giving them the insulin, let's try to prevent it ahead of time. See what we can do for that. There's a lot of companies, insurance companies, things like that don't necessarily prefer preventative care because that's not where the money's made. But I want to try and stray away from that, and I truly think that's where medicine is headed right now. Well,
and that's an interesting thought process too, because right now we see that there's not a lot of money being made in that preventative care, but that almost opens up a niche for it. And if you're passionate about it and you're willing to take the risk on your own to do that, or with your company, then I feel like that's a great opportunity for people to be able to grow in a business like yours, or any other business who sees that, well, there's not much money being made, but is that because no one's in there? Or is it because the people who are in there aren't marketing it correctly or whatever? So that's really, that's an interesting thought to just kind of chew on for a little bit.
Yeah.
You were talking about preventative care, and so we can kind of talk a little bit about the genesis of Hydrelief and where that began, because we know that I would call it a party pack. I know you guys in the EMS field would not call what you do a party pack.
Sure.
But now we're not necessarily doing, you guys definitely are doing the bachelorette parties and the bachelor parties.
It'll never go.
That's your bread and butter.
Yep.
But is there like a phase 2 of Hydrelief?
I would say so.
So let's hear it.
So like I said, Dr. Ellsbecker is the one that started the company back in 2016. And I think initially his idea was certainly hangover cures, right? That's kind of where we started. We're the cure for the hangover.
Right.
And it was his idea spawned from a company in Las Vegas. That's where he did his residency. And obviously, like it's a great idea. Austin needs it, right? It's a huge city. Oh, yeah. Lots of people coming to it for bachelorette parties, weddings, all that stuff. So obviously there's a need for it. And I think he clearly had an idea for wellness as well. Obviously that's a thing, right? I mean, he wouldn't have made the wellness packages that we have today
for sure.
Had he not. And so he definitely saw a lot in that. When I came aboard, I definitely wanted to pursue that a lot more. I think that was something that there's something to that, and I still think there is, and it certainly seems as we grow, and especially in Austin, there's a lot more people that are really looking for the wellness aspect of it, and hydration, vitamins, people who are deficient in B12, any people who get sick often. Sometimes maybe they need a vitamin boost or an immune system boost, and these are things that we have. So I would say it's probably a phase 2 for Hydrelief. I wouldn't say maybe not necessarily renaming the company, but we're certainly working on rebranding part of it and turning it into not only just the hangover cure, but a wellness infusion.
Yeah, well, the beauty of Hydrelief, it's Hydrelief.
Yeah.
You're using fluids to relief or prevent things from happening.
Right.
And so the branding that Dr. Ellsbecker did right off the bat.
Nailed it.
He nailed it right out the park. So with that, we've got, there's a lot of directions we can go in. You're talking about the preventative care. And one thing that kind of came to my mind, and, I don't know what can be, this can be cut out stuff, but I don't know about what can be discussed. But I'm thinking about somebody who's doing the 23andMe genetics test that says, you're genetically dependent or deficient on these things. And is there a direction on that? Is there, with that technology that's kind of becoming more mainstream, what does that look like?
So interesting that you mentioned the genetics. So we have recently come in partnership with a genetics company in Austin, and they are helping provide the ability to provide genetics testing for our clients. And the goal for that is to figure out what they're deficient in, why they're deficient in it, and what can we do as a IV infusion company and also as a supplement provider to facilitate them to a healthier, better life, and really starting to nail down that preventative medicine. Yeah. Because one of the number one causes for cancer is inflammation. And what causes inflammation? We need to figure that out, right? What is causing your body to become inflamed? Well, genetics tells us a lot of that. And so we're doing some genetics testing on some of our clients, and we figure out exactly what type of infusion or what type of vitamins they might need, what their body's going to react more to, and kind of stray away from the shotgun method is what I like to call it, where we just kind of give them everything, all the vitamins, and maybe 4 out of the 10 vitamins that we give them is going to be good for them. The other ones are not going to hurt them. They're vitamins. Your body gets rid of what it doesn't need on its own. But we want to be sure that I would rather give them only what they need, and that's it, right? Makes it more cost effective for them, for us. And at the end of the day, the less is better, in my opinion, right? Sure. Whether it's bad for you or not, the less. If we can prevent from giving you something that you don't necessarily need, better.
And the more as it happens naturally in your biology of your system, then that's going to be better. But that doesn't take anything away from adding the supplements to your lifestyle or anybody's lifestyle, for sure. So you earlier discussed working as a firefighter with Williamson County, and you're from the area. What does it look like for you being from Central Texas and working full time and trying to start this business and take it from where it was to now a growth, seeing and doing and producing this growth opportunity? What is it like trying to do both of these things?
Busy. You're busy. Constantly doing something. I find a lot of joy in it. It's more, I mean, Hydrelief is certainly a hobby of mine. And It's been since Dr. Elsbecker took me on. I mean, it's always been a hobby. I love doing it. It's certainly, it's a everyday thing.
Yeah.
There literally is not a day that I'm not thinking about Hydrelief. Williamson County takes up obviously the majority of my time. We work 24-hour shifts, 48 hours off. So when the days that I am at home, I am either doing something on the computer for Hydrelief, working on marketing, going out to meetings, or doing infusions in the field still.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's just something constantly working.
It's constant. And I want to hit back on, you said it's a hobby. That, I don't know. I think that's why a lot of people think they want to work for themselves.
Right.
I know that for me, it'd be great. Everybody talks about it'd be great if you could find the intersection between things that you like to do and things that you're good at, and get paid to do that. Then that's what we should kind of pursue. And you talked about passion there, and I mean, you're definitely millennial, just like I am, and so we get that we get that bad rep.
Yeah.
But beautiful thing about technology is that we get to spread our message on a broader scale instead of the good old days where it's the buddy system.
Yes.
I mean, it's still nice to have a good word of mouth.
Oh, yeah.
People talking about Hydrelief, but with the technology the way it is, and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and everything the way that it is, it doesn't have to be word of mouth. And so because of that, your passions, and you get a platform to share those passions and to actually profit off of the passions, which is great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you have
the dream?
It is the dream.
Yeah. Do what you love. I mean, that's important always. Whether you necessarily make money at it or not, make sure you're doing what you love. And I think that fuels your fire constantly. So if you're going to work every day and it's paying the bills, but you don't really like it or you don't love it, man, you're not going to be happy.
Right.
And money certainly is not always the answer. And with Hydrelief, I mean, we all do a great job at what we do, and I think we compensate appropriately for our employees too. But the most important thing is everybody that works for us loves it.
Yeah,
and we all enjoy it. I mean, I think it's a passion with everybody.
That's a passion, and it's a culture too.
Yes.
I mean, Dr. Elsbecker started it, and he's still there, but now you're kind of the driving force of it. And from the brief exchanges that we've had over time, and knowing a decent amount of people who you work with and work for you, and just knowing that culture, it's not just Davis sitting here on the mic telling everybody that this is a great place to work and that all the people know. Like, I get to sit there next to one of his workers on a day in and day out basis, and I know that she loves working it whenever she gets the opportunity. And like, that's the beauty of it too, is for the people who are working with Hydrelief, because I know you guys are hiring too, right?
Sure are. Yes, absolutely.
Here, they're hiring in Austin. So if you're listening and you got what kind of certification do they need? Because I know
paramedic or nurse. It's,
paramedic or nurse certification. Like, this business is a great opportunity. Schedule's super flexible. Davis and the company is a great company to work with. Like, my wife has never come home and been upset from a day of working at Hydro. Now, we all understand that sometimes a job becomes a job at some stance, but back to the passion thing that Davis was talking about earlier, like, I could just sense from him, he's talking about busy. The outside world might see it as busy, but I know that there's probably times when Davis has woken up, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and just can't get Hydrelief off his brain. And so he just dives in and starts working. Yep. I'm sure of that.
Absolutely.
So do you have anything to say on, just that it doesn't become work at that point?
No, it's not work. It's not work. It's not a job. It's not work at all. Like I said, that's why I call it a hobby. I mean, I love what I do. I mean, there's absolutely been times it's been 3 a.m. when I woke up and I'm like, man, I can't sleep, and all I can think about is Hydrelief. Let's do something. So utilize that time. And in fact, really, my most productive times have been like 1 to 4 in the morning, like that for whatever reason. And but it truly is something that I love. I love doing. I get to meet some of the coolest people out there. I get to have some of the greatest conversations with these people, and even some of them we're there to the end of their lives. I mean, we certainly help people that have cancer. We help people with terminal illnesses, that sort of thing. Help them, and it's not a cure, right? But it at least improves the quality of life.
Quality of life for sure.
And to see that, and to see the joy and the light in people's eyes kind of come back with the infusion, and maybe sometimes it's not even fluid. Maybe it's just our interaction with them. Right. And I think that's what we teach everybody that works with us, is that it's not all about just, hey, I'm going to come stick a needle in your arm and give you fluid. It's about our interaction and passion with the client as well. Right. And making sure you're talking to them, taking care of them. And I think that's what we look for in all of our employees is that they actually care.
Yeah.
And if they don't care, well, they're not going to care about Hydrelief, then they're certainly not going to care about their patients. So.
Yeah. And as you're growing a business, and generally the idea of having employees that care about their work, that's going to help everybody's bottom line.
Yes.
That's going to help the consumer's bottom line. It's going to help the business's bottom line. If people care about what they're doing, then it's kind of bleeds out of them. Yeah. The light shines out of them. Like, this is something that I'm bang on, we're doing it, type thing. And that's, getting to that intersection again of finding what we're good at and what we enjoy. I mean, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
No,
like,
sure.
You're probably have never been in your shoes, but I'm willing to bet that you're probably sacrificing some things that at this point in your life, you're like, man, I could be doing this or I could be doing that, but you're still, like, because of that sacrifice, you're able to do so much more, and you're able to impact other people.
Yeah. There are definitely things that you have to sacrifice, especially when you're younger and starting your own business or running your own business and working for yourself, or even just having a career that you love and getting started early. There's a lot of things that you sacrifice in life, but it's worth it. And there's a saying I'm trying to think of that I don't remember who said it, but live like others won't, so you can live like others can't in the future. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I do now. I don't necessarily go out. I don't party every weekend. You know what I mean? Every weekend. People talk about spring break, and to be honest with you, the only reason I know about spring break is because of Hydrelief.
Because you get to work the back end of it. So you're encouraging them to go out and have a great time, but don't forget don't forget to call you back on the back end side of that.
Yep.
So that's awesome. And that quote kind of reminds me of the whole Dave Ramsey stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with Dave, but it's the live like nobody now, so then you can live like nobody then. Yeah. That type of idea of you're making the sacrifices, whether it be for Dave Ramsey hammering the financial aspects on people, but Davis here spitting the wisdom for not just finances, but just kind of life. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that there's benefits of these sacrifices.
Absolutely.
And it's like, there's a lot of people that are worried about what is going on now, what's important now. And there's things that are important now. Sure. But if we don't have a long-term vision and we don't see ourselves in that spot on a consistent basis, then what again, it goes back to that passion. What are we doing? Why are we doing what we're doing? Yeah. So you have any other thoughts on that?
Make a difference.
Yeah. Make a difference.
Gosh. Yeah. You got to make a difference. If you're not making a difference in life, then what are you doing? Yeah. And like I said, you die twice, right? So if you're making a difference, you may not die that second time.
Yeah, man, dude, that spot right there, I don't know why, and this is no joke. I just, like you said, make a difference, and it was just like chills. Like like you mean what you're saying, and I really hope that picks up over the airways, and that's going to be like the intro to your episode. We're going to make a difference. Difference. Yeah. Davis, like, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So as far as making a difference goes, there's people that made a difference in your life, and we talked about mentors earlier. Sure. And you talked about some people supporting you in the past, but I kind of want to maybe double back to that and have you explain what it's like having that support, and from Dr. Elsbecker helping you, or I'm forgetting his name right now, but the guy that's coming alongside of you helping drive.
Justin.
Justin. That's it.
Yeah, Justin Covey, man. He has been the backbone of the company, especially as of late. To have there's no way without the people that have been in my life. Like I said, not only my parents, my aunt and uncle, the majority of my family, to be honest with you. And certainly, like I said, Dr. Elsbecker and certainly Justin as well. Without them, there's absolutely no way I'd be where I'm at today. Yeah. And I don't think Hydrelief would be at where it's at today, certainly. And so we are a family. Hydrelief is, and we're a team. So I know I say sometimes I'll use the word employee, but that's just more of a general term. We're all family, and we make sure it stays that way. And without that family, there's no way that we would be where we're at. So to have that support and to have their confidence is extremely. I can't even describe the feeling to have that behind you, but it certainly gives you a lot of confidence in what you do.
I think that you nailed it there with just confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, having people around you that are speaking life into you as far as like the encouragement. And I'm sure there's people that are like, hey, Davis, like, that you care about are like, hey, Davis, like, what are we doing? And you listen to it a little bit, but at the same time, you look at that overall and you look at who that person is to the business and who that person is to your life. Like Justin, I mean, you're going to take a lot of advice from Justin, Dr. Elsbecker. Absolutely. And so whether it's constructive criticism or whether it's just construction, and he's building on you, and having those people around you and just supporting that is important, is vital, because I don't know about you, but being my own worst critic it's hard.
Absolutely.
And so if you have the negative voice inside of you, there's got to be a balance on that.
Yeah.
And having other people around you supporting you, I feel like, is a good addition to that.
Absolutely. It takes a village. That's what my parents always said.
Yeah.
It takes a village, and that village is your support system. That's the people that you surround yourself with. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind too, is keep yourself surrounded with people that you want to be like, and better yourself through them or with them. And if your village isn't strong, then you can't be strong either.
Yeah.
So,
what do they say is something about you become the average of the 5 people that you run around with.
Yeah.
And so just that idea of being supported and being involved with other people who are on a path that you're interested in pursuing.
Yes.
And there's no other way other than osmosis that you get brought up with them.
Right.
And so you surround yourself with people who are wanting to help grow something. Well, even if you are not very good at it, just by osmosis, surrounding yourself with those people helps you get from where you are to where you want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way about it, because you can't, to continue to stay in that circle, you have to grow.
Right.
You do grow. So that's just really, I mean, hitting on a point of support and community around you, and that, some places talk about growth happens through community over time. And that's almost sounds like a church thing, but truth be told,
sure.
like that people like gospel, and we're definitely not a religious podcast, but gospel, for those who believe in it, know that it bleeds into the life. And so with that idea that growth happens in community over time, I mean, surrounding yourself with that, you become the average of those 5 people.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not to say cut off those that are not holding you back, but it's also for you to analyze that time that you're committed to those who may be holding you back and those who you're wanting to grow forward with. Yeah. So I know you're doing a great job with Hydrelief and trying to surround yourself and the company, not just you, because that's another point that I want to make, is that for Hydrelief being successful to where it is, Davis isn't just taking it all for himself. He's not taking all this information and holding it close to his belly and then, doing a one-off and saying, hey, this is who we are now. Like Davis is constantly reaching out and talking to his employees and trying to find their pulse and let them know his pulse. And like, as a young business entrepreneur, business grower, Davis, like that's huge. But we also feel, I feel like that, that is important because guess what? It's important to you.
Yes. And
instead of it being the old school where, well, this is what I thought it was supposed to be, we're in a generation now that like, if it's going to feel good for us, then why don't we be like that? Why don't we be like who we want in our lives or things like that? So that's just, again, from the outside looking in at Hydrelief and seeing it kind of operating on not a day-to-day basis, but seeing that just who you are and who the company is becoming and it's kind of like meshing together.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So it's really cool. So culture, man, like it's huge. That's everything.
It is.
Nobody wants to show up to work at a job where everyone's complaining about
absolutely not.
Someone trying to come for their job or, well, why not get this promotion or things like that. And it's easy on a small business to kind of overlook those things because they don't necessarily happen because they can talk directly to the boss. But that's a big benefit of owning a business.
Absolutely, it is.
So, what is your typical day as far as you talked about it earlier? But if you're not working EMS, because you said you're 24 hours on,
correct,
48 hours off. We actually talked to a firefighter earlier this week. He, I'll plug Blackland Precision just real quick because he was in the studio earlier this week and he's a fireman. And so Davis, I'm sure you could relate with his conversation very well. I'm pretty sure that he was saying that they work 24 on and have 48 off as well.
Correct.
But what that opens up is the opportunity for 48 hours, theoretically 48 hours that you can grow something else.
Absolutely.
So what is that typical day of Davis with Hydrelief look like?
I wake up in the morning and I usually try to wake up typically without an alarm. I'll probably wake up about 7:30. The earlier I start my day, the better the day is going to go. Don't oversleep. I drink coffee. Black Rifle coffee is the way to go. That's my favorite. I'll go sit down. I listen to either some audiobooks to start the morning, do some things around the house, sit down. And when I try to let I don't know exactly how to explain this, but it's like let my mind go where it wants to go as far as Hydrelief takes me. And I'll sit on the couch and something will come to me, or I'll have a feeling or a need to do something.
Right.
And I'll start working on it. I'll go sit down at the computer. We'll start work on marketing, like I said, starting emails that need to be sent, whatever, or the endless phone calls that come in. Start answering those. But if I'm not out doing appointments during the weekday or on the weekends, I'll be either going to physicians' offices, going to bars, like I said, answering phone calls, answering emails, constantly doing marketing as much as we can, and working on that. But at the end of the day, if there's an appointment available and I'm available to do it and not busy working on Lord knows what else that there is to do with running the business itself, we'll take that appointment, man, because those are the ones that, any appointment that you can go to it's rare that I ever have just a normal appointment, normal client.
Right.
It's usually I'm meeting somebody. I usually have a wonderful conversation with them.
Exactly.
And at least at the end of the day, we get there. They obviously do not look the greatest. They're looking pretty ill. And by the time we leave, they're usually quite a bit better.
They're feeling
substantially better
because of the fluids and also the conversation. That's, again, you're growing the business. The importance of that conversation is, and you touched on it earlier, but that's awesome. Like that's part of your day. And you touched on two topics that I want to circle back to both of them separately. And we'll start with the books. Like we were talking earlier before coming on and recording about the audiobooks. What kind of impact has audiobooks made in your life?
I tell you what, a huge impact. I used to hate reading. I think most kids do, at least, and at least certainly the ones that I was around. And it was the video games and watching TV, and that's what I wanted to do. Then Hydrelief started. I started to mature a little bit and got into audiobooks. My brother Dean actually introduced me to a few and recommended a few, and because has been pretty successful in his life, so of course I look up to him. He's another mentor of mine
for sure.
And he suggested a few audiobooks that really, one started as it's Make Your Bed. Okay. And for anybody in life, that's some good fundamentals to start with. It starts with making your bed every morning, right?
Is this the book, General in the Army or Navy?
Admiral McRaven.
Admiral.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yes.
Admiral McRaven.
Yes.
I know there's an importance in that title.
I actually got the honor to meet him, and man, he is an incredible person. And he's written a couple books, Make Your Bed, and I'll have to think of the name. I can't remember the second one. They're two books that were just absolutely fundamental in building Hydrelief, and are actually ways that I learned to run Hydrelief and learn to be a boss. Right. And because it's certainly been a huge growing, I guess, maybe not growing pains, but it's been, I guess, a culture shock to go through is going from just being an employee to having your own company and actually having people that you're responsible for and a company that you're responsible for. And it's a huge culture shock, a huge change in your life. Yeah. And so listening, because I didn't necessarily read the books. I did actually eventually read the books because I think they're just phenomenal. But listening to them, whether I take the time, I mean, how often are we in our cars and we're driving around?
Especially in Central Texas.
Especially
how many people are commuting from where we're located here in Belton or Temple, Texas to Austin or Waco or anywhere around. And so, holy smokes, how many hours do we spend in a car on a weekly, daily basis?
And you're not doing anything. Well, what are you going to do? Listen to music? Shouldn't be texting.
Right. Please, no texting.
Yeah.
Please.
So what are you doing aside from sitting there in your own head, overthinking things, stressing yourself out by overthinking things? Or just listening to music and wasting time. Right. So utilize that time. Now, don't get me wrong. I do listen to music a lot, especially in the car. Sometimes you just got to listen to your music.
You just turn it, crank it.
Yeah, crank it up, sing along.
We're young, or years ago, but whenever we're in our 50s and 60s. But that's fine. Maybe Hydrelief can have something to fix that here in a couple centuries, or not centuries, decades. Sorry. Decades, math is not my strong point. But that would, holy smokes, let's crank up the music and hope Hydrelief can fix it for us in the future.
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be something.
But those audiobooks, man, Extreme Ownership, that's the other book that he wrote.
Extreme Ownership.
And that, especially if you're wanting to be your own boss, you want to start your own business or you want to run your own business, Extreme Ownership by far is one of the best books that I've ever read. Yeah. And certainly provided me with some morals and abilities to provide and lead the company to a better place. And like I said, Elsbecker certainly started that and facilitated the beginning of this. And I hope I've done him proud by growing it and continuing to make it a bigger thing. But certainly reading those two books, man, that's life-changing, truly life-changing. There's a lot to be said in those books.
So on those books, we've talked about those two. Are those books that you've just read recently, or are you going back to them kind of now that you said audiobooks? Did you buy them so that you can now go back to a certain page and mark it up? What does that look like for you?
So I have obviously, like I said, the audiobooks, and I also have hard copies of the books as well. Purchase them on Amazon, and not that expensive. And I think I read Make Your Bed. I read it before. I think I was working for Hydrelief, but I read it before I became the owner of Hydrelief. And like I said, that's just a good fundamentals book. Yeah. And I decided so I'm actually a preceptor at Williamson County as well. So we teach some of the students and help bring them up. And so I gift that to some of the students that I have and let them read it. Because again, like I said, solid fundamentals, and I think everybody should read it. So I have extra copies of that I carry around. And then I have one for myself that I sit there, I highlight, mark it. If I'm in the car listening to it, there's a little button on the steering wheel that you can push that opens Siri, and Siri makes a bookmark in audiobooks, and then you can go back and read it when you're home. And there's sometimes where I'm like, dude, I have to pull over. I need to listen to that again, and I have to write this down because, wow, that was profound. That's awesome. And so in those times, that's what I do with those. And like I said, man, those audiobooks, they're something.
So what's in the library right now? What is your book of choice that is on the audiobooks right now or on Audible?
I have what is it called? Let me look at
let
me pull it up and look, because it's something with Y. I'm terrible with titles. Terrible with
Start with
names.
Y by Simon Sinek, or
it is Start with Y. That's the one. So that's the one I'm currently working on, and it's entertaining. It's good. Another great fundamental book, and it certainly answers some questions that I had as a boss,
Yeah.
becoming my own boss. It helps answer those questions. I mean, it's again, a brilliant book too.
I think that's a good segue into kind of the second part of the conversation that I wanted to speak on earlier, about starting with why, just kind of point back to something that you said earlier, where in your morning routine, you've kind of created this space to where you want to let your mind go where it wants to. And that, I feel like pre-industrial age, so this is just me spitting, talking, thoughts that are coming out of my head right now, but pre-industrial age, we don't have the devices, and I'm not necessarily pointing to phones and electronics, but we didn't have the devices that could keep us as occupied then as we do now. Now, there were things there because things overall don't necessarily change, but the way that the phones are grabbing our attention now and electronics are grabbing our attention, I don't want to say that as a negative, but it gave space to those who were intentional about it to be bored or not be afraid of being bored, which then created this productivity. So talk about what you think the importance or the value has been of you creating that space to be bored or to sit and create out of nothing.
Yeah. Great. So being bored, it's got this negative stigma behind it, right? Oh, I'm so bored, or this is awful. It's boring. Some of my greatest ideas has come from just sitting there and being bored. I'll sit there, have a cat named Daryl. I'll sit there and play with him. And sometimes it's good to just relax your mind, allow yourself to become bored, and things come to you. They'll come to you, whether it's something that you heard in the past, you really open your mind or start remembering things that you've done, something somebody said to you, and you kind of build on that. And it's when the boredom's going on and I have this idea that hits me, that's when I shoot up and I go write it down, or I start working on the computer and start really nailing away at it. And I mean, like I said, some of the best ideas have come from just sitting there on my couch.
Yeah, it's that snowball effect. And if we're always running that rat race, personally, it's like if I'm running that rat race and not giving myself a chance to be bored, I'm always just busifying myself, then I'm only going to have busy thoughts. I'm only going to do busy things.
Right.
I'm not going to do something that's worth my time. And why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Well, it's to be busy.
Yeah.
But if I allow and create, or if we create that intentional space to be bored and to be, just to our own devices, and let the power of the brain work. I mean, you're definitely more familiar with medicine than I am, but the brain homeostasis is not, our body tries to get there, but the brain is always going. Yep. And if you give that space for it to breathe and then grow, that's where you start talking about passion again. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I have no other way than to be, I don't want to say ADD, but OCD. I don't have any other way other than to be OCD about what I'm doing right now, because now my brain is hyper-focused on what I'm trying to accomplish. And that is just those times, I know for me, like whenever you get those moments, it's like you're riding this high, and it's really fun whenever you're riding that high.
Absolutely.
You're just like you were saying earlier, 1 to 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's not saying you don't get your sleep.
Right.
I'm sure you probably get 6 to 8 hours a week of sleep, or
a week.
Night.
Yeah, a week.
Well, okay. Yeah.
That's more like it.
Being young, like we have that opportunity where we can, so sleep might be some of the things we sacrifice, but it's also important too.
Sure.
And I'm sure with medicine, like you see it on your trucks with the EMTs that aren't getting their sleep, like just the lack of productivity.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that could be a conversation for in and of itself, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely can.
But it's the opportunity again, and I've lost my train of thought, but of going back to creating that space for your brain to do what it needs to do.
It's important to have a safe spot.
Yeah.
Spot where you can just relax, unwind, reduce any outside factors, and relax. Yeah. Be there. I think another thing that I do, going back to kind of my day-to-day thing or day-to-day routine, is every morning I wake up and to jog or jumpstart my mind, I try to come up with something. Whether it's just absolutely bizarre, wild UFO talking something, but try to invent something that would be cool, that would better my life, better my friend's life, better the world, but better whatever, better my cat's life, whatever it may be. But try to come up with something. Write it down, even if it's ridiculous, and write it down. And every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, you'll get that idea, and you're like, oh, that's something. Let's follow that.
Yeah.
And that's how you jumpstart your days, especially the ones that are, you're like, oh, this is going to be a bad day, or you got a busy day ahead of you. Yeah. Come up with something. And that's kind of where our genetics paneling started. Is we are the first company in the country to offer genetics testing with our IV infusion, and started to integrate that. And that was literally an idea that I was sitting in bed and I was like, okay, we got genetics and we have Hydrelief. What's to say that we can't combine the two and figure out what's the underlying cause of why this person's deficient in B12 or, deficient in vitamin C, that sort of thing. So, come up with something every day, even if it's ridiculous.
And that's great. Like the ridiculousness of that, just almost, and I'm not calling you audacious, but that audacious statement to put yourself in a spot of creativity. I mean, being a business owner, being a business entrepreneur, and I know for myself, it's like as growing up, I was not very creative as far as the general sense. I can't draw. Right. My penmanship is terrible.
Yes.
And so I always believed that I wasn't a creative person, but I could always talk anybody's ear off.
Yes.
And realizing as I'm growing a little bit older that is creativity, and building businesses or growing businesses are ways that people who can't draw or sing very well and be creative that way, but building a business allows you to be super creative with things and people. And
certainly
there's a space for that, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
People right now, it's like talking about entrepreneurs or whatever. Yeah. I'm not trying to qualify myself as an entrepreneur.
Well, you're starting your own podcast as an entrepreneur. You're starting your own thing.
It's like, I'm the most forgetful person anybody probably will ever meet.
Fair enough. If you met me.
working with sixth graders, I still find myself getting frustrated with them because how many kids leave stuff in my room, and then I just sit there and think, I was that kid.
Yep.
I was not a turd in school. I was a rule follower. I wouldn't go as far to say as a teacher's pet, but if any of my teachers ever listen to this, I didn't think I was a teacher's pet. Others might have. I don't know. I didn't care about that as much. But what I did forget, or what I did not do very well, was remembering things as far as pencils, notebooks, backpacks, jackets. I'm sure I left everything in some teacher's room at one time. And I know in college, I would get in trouble on the baseball team from the coaches because I would always leave my glove. I would lock my keys in the car. The sheriff's department in college knew me by my number. I would call them up and Nolan, where are you? Where's your car locked up now? And they'd send over somebody, inevitably they'd send over somebody with the pop lock. And because I don't know how Bell County does it, but Brewster County, they didn't charge you. So it's a little bit cheaper than a pop lock. And as being a college kid, you don't have enough money to pop lock yourself. But just being forgetful, that's like, I am very, very forgetful.
Yeah, I'm right there. You're not the only one, man. That's a busy mind though. You're constantly thinking of things, and sometimes you forget some stuff.
Yep.
Calendar is important.
Never being where my feet are, but always trying to be where my feet are.
Exactly.
Calendar's important, and that's one reason why I sent you that invite on coming on the podcast, because it helps me, it helps others who are their mind, they need that schedule.
I tell people if it's not on my calendar, it probably will not happen because I'll forget. And it's nothing against that person. Right. It's nothing against whatever's going on. It's not that it's not important. But there's just a lot going on.
No.
Life's busy.
100%. And that, not a marriage podcast, but the idea, and I'm probably not going to put this in, but the idea of the scheduling thing, I'm trying to learn that conversation with my wife, because we were just talking about Valentine's Day tomorrow. And I'm very bad at Valentine's Day and gifts. And scheduling anything.
Right.
But I've started recently trying to schedule my day in 15 to 20 minute intervals. Honestly, like I'll sit down on a Sunday or Saturday and I'll schedule my week out on each day based on 15 to 20 minute intervals. Well, if I do that and I have the one time that I scheduled time for her and I to hang out, she was like, well, why did you have to schedule time for me? And I'm, because it's important to me. Like, I wanted to make sure that, you know what, I'm going to schedule all this other stuff. Number one thing for me was my wife to, schedule time for her. And then today we have the conversation and it was, well, what are we doing for Valentine's Day? I'm like, I don't know. We haven't had anything scheduled and I've got other, I'm doing other things. And it's not because I don't want to do things with you, but I've got the podcast. And so we're working on that 6 months into marriage on how to converse through me needing the schedule and her wanting to know that I'm still spontaneous with her as well.
That's hard. So it's a hard balance.
It's a hard balance.
I have no answers for that.
Right. Well, and that's the encouragement there is that as someone who's trying to start something and you who are starting something, some people, and I love my wife to death, and this is not a knock on her, but some people don't understand how your brain operates. Right. And your spouse doesn't have to. Right. It's others who are trying to do things that you're trying to do that would understand more so. And so there's some like commonality here with the old, got to have it on the schedule.
Yes.
And it's not from a place that we don't care about those people.
Absolutely.
And, we can go as far as you probably get to see your folks a little bit more than I, but we could go as far to say, you missed a phone call with your folks. Mm-hmm. Well, if you put it in your schedule and it's, you said earlier, it's not because you're not important, I'm not putting it in the schedule, but if you put it in the schedule, then it's like, check, we were able to connect. I know that they're okay. We're okay. It was in the schedule. I was intentional about that and kind of going on with it. So that intentionality with the scheduling is important.
Yes.
And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not because you have you schedule out your day. It's not that you're not spontaneous, but it's like you said, it's that you're intentional. And that's extremely important to be intentional in what you do. Have a purpose, and that goes into like have a purpose, make a difference, right? Yeah. So as long as you're intentional with what you do, and you're not going to waste your time, doesn't mean you're not spontaneous. Still, there's some stuff that comes along with that. But.
Yep, and it doesn't mean because being intentional. I mean, while you're intentional, what that opens up for is space to be spontaneous.
Yes,
because if you're not intentional with that time, and then we let audiobook that I've read recently, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We let others' urgent things become our urgent things, and they're not important. Mm-hmm. But because we haven't scheduled that time and been intentional, then it snowballs on us too. But if we're intentional with scheduling that time, then those little hiccups in the road don't throw off our entire schedule because, it's a little 15-minute snippet here that we can redirect.
Yes.
And so that's really just kind of going back to books a second ago, the idea that being intentional with your time is a good thing. It's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So encourage people because scatterbrains like us, we need it. Right? We need
yes, absolutely.
So we talk about Hydrelief and Williamson County EMS, and we've talked about some successes. We haven't defined success yet, and we also haven't tackled maybe your biggest loss. So those are like two different sides of the same coin because in life, we've got losses and we've got victories. A person I spoke with recently on the show, he talked about it's not a loss. I've learned. So would you want to tackle losses first, or do you want to tackle success in your definition of that first?
We can start with losses.
Okay.
I think that's a fair place to start.
All right. So what is maybe in the young birthing or young growth of Hydrelief, because you said 2016 it started. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So it's still 3-4 years going now.
Right. Very new.
Young, very new. Yeah. I'm sure there's been some L's. You've taken some L's along the way.
Yeah. We certainly as a company have taken some losses, whether it be with misguidance, misunderstanding. I think I don't know, without going into too much detail, we certainly had some people. There's not always the greatest people out there. That always they certainly don't have your best interest in mind, and it's important to. You're always going to have losses. You're always going to have losses in your life, and I think losses are very important because as long as you can learn from them, then they're good. They're positive, right? They had a positive impact in your life, although maybe not immediately. In the long run, they're absolutely positive. And so we've had plenty of people they'll either come to us for marketing. They'll be like, "Hey, we'll market your company for X amount of dollars," and I'm like, "Wow!" They give you this portfolio, and it's like lists all these things that they'll do for you, and you're like, "Man, this is great! What a great deal! Let's do it and knock it out, man!" And then you drop some money on them, and all of a sudden they're gone.
They're gone.
And they got your money; they don't care anymore.
Right.
And so what I learned from that was understand that not everybody has your best interests, and I think that was an important lesson to learn that I maybe not had learned early on in life because I had so much support in my life. To learn that then and that way, I think was best. I'm glad I learned it now,
right?
As opposed to learning.
Yeah,
it in the future.
I mean, you've learned it on a smaller scale.
Exactly.
There's a little less. You've learned it now on a little less smaller scale of dollar loss versus as Hydrelief grows, more and more people are going to be interested in trying to market that because they see the success of you and they want to ride on the coattail of your success, and not necessarily know you and trust you and do the work that you've done. They're just trying to, just like a lot of people out there, trying to make a quick buck. And so taking the loss young, but that's the beauty of it too. Now, the age of young is now relative because of medicine, because of preventative care, because of all of these things. I mean, us sitting here both below 30, we've got 2 more lifetimes to live, to continue, at least for the first third of our life, to continue making mistakes. And even up until our 60s and 70s, if you're continuing to make mistakes, then you're continuing to push the envelope. If you're afraid of what other people are saying, or afraid to go out there and, this could be the end of everything, and just letting the doom drive you, then maybe entrepreneurship or maybe business ownership or maybe just a positive growth life is not in it for the cards for you if you're letting that fear motivate. But if you're being a learner from those losses and, having some self-awareness, how much, you had to deal with that. It's not easy.
No.
Being a business owner, being a small business owner or entrepreneur, it's kind of lonely because you get that space of, I made this mistake. And there's people that are encouraging to you, but you get to bear the brunt of it. So there's some L's, but there's this thing that I heard today, right on it. It's a setback could be a major setup for a step forward or a set up. A setback, I'm missing it out. So I'm screwing it up, but it's a setback could be a step forward. A major step forward. So that's really, on your points, dude, it's just helped you propel to grow forward and learn and not make the same mistakes twice.
You're going to have losses in your life. You're going to have hardships. You're going to, everybody does. Everybody goes through things in their life. And one of my biggest things is I don't regret anything that I've done. Not to say that I've never done anything that was negative or negatively impacted me or those around me, right? Everybody makes mistakes. But I don't regret any of the decisions I've made because I've learned from everything that I've done. 100%. And as long as, whether it's a loss for you, whether it's a loss for somebody else, a loss for a business, whatever it may be, as long as you not only accepted the fact that you or whatever you may have done was negative, as long as you take that and you learn from it and grow yourself and make sure you don't do it again in the future, right? So again, as long as you're learning from your losses, there's nothing to regret. Why regret it? It's made you who you are now, 100%. And it'll make you who you are in the future. And so that's one. I think that's the biggest pill that I swallowed, and I think I swallowed that probably at a younger age. And man, it certainly brightened up my life and made my life a lot easier. And I always learn. And I think another good thing to do is learn from other people's mistakes too, because you're making a lot of mistakes, but so are a lot of other people around you, right? Everybody does. Like I said, learn from them.
It's kind of that idea. You have inexpensive learning or expensive learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's inexpensive because you didn't make the mistake.
Yep.
You're learning it from somebody else. It didn't necessarily hurt you as bad. And I would say a lot of people are probably very bad at the inexpensive learning experience. But the expensive learning experience is where you get hit in the pocketbook or you get hit in the gut. You get that front forethought. And so just the thought of trying to turn more of our experiences or mistakes into inexpensive ones where we're learning from others, continuing to surround ourselves with people who are better than we are. Being the smartest person in the room is not maybe the best place to be, but maybe being the fly on the wall in somebody else's room might be a better place to sit.
Yeah.
So that's really great. And so we're, as that transition, we're kind of pointing and the energy's going up to like success. And so we've talked about failure and loss. And now, but we can't talk about that without talking about success, because those failures, as we're learning, they're not failures anymore. We look back and we've learned from it. And so now we're having some small successes. So what does success look like for you? What is the overall vision maybe of what are you able to do in 20 years, 30 years and say Hydrelief was a success? Or do you get to do that, say that every day?
I look at any day that I can, like I said, make a difference, whether it be help somebody, even if it's the smallest thing, getting the door for somebody. As long as I can make a difference in somebody's life and it be a positive impact, that's a success to me. And the idea of Hydrelief and the success behind Hydrelief, I think, lays into the people we take care of. And at the end of the day, it's not money, it's not finances. I don't have a financial goal. I don't have, the amount of people that we have working with us. I have who we took care of, and are they feeling better? Are they doing better? Was it the fluids that we gave them that was better, or was it Justin kneeling down on the ground and talking to them? Right. Was that what made their day better? And the thing that's going to make the biggest difference is spreading joy and spreading happiness. And if you are keeping all that happiness to yourself, and like finances, right? What does money do for you? It helps you out, right? But who are you helping anybody else out with that? And the answer is no, typically, right? Even if you're donating it, I mean, it's money. It's just stuff, But success is truly, to me, success is making a difference in somebody's life and making a positive impact. Yeah. And that's Hydrelief's goal. That's our success.
Well, I'm going to jump on that Hydrelief goal train or at least on Davis's back, because this guy, he's not just talking about it. And I know this might seem very small to you guys, but as we were coming in the shop today, my hands were full and Davis was like, man, how can I help you? How can I help you? And I'm just like, I got it. And then I'm trying to open the door and he just like basically takes the door from me. He's like, Nolan, I got the door for you. And me being stubborn and hard-headed, I was just like, okay, but I was sitting here just thinking like, no, that's who Davis is. And that's who Hydrelief, not that that's not who they were before, but they're becoming more of that. And being a small business in Central Texas in this area, like we're Texans, we're kind of proud in how we take care of each other. Yeah. Like, absolutely. And so if you're talking about preventative care, and of course the party pack, as I was talking about earlier, is your bread and butter. Sure. But preventative care, there's eventually, you guys are first, but eventually there's going to be competition. And one thing that's going to separate, and we know this, we believe it, and that's why you're acting on it, but one thing that separates Hydrelief from its competition is not necessarily the services that you offer, but the people that you bring to the table. And like you see that and you live that. So I just, kind of want to commend you on being able to see those things. Because I'm sure it's a thankless job being an EMT. Sure. So you get to, hearing it is nice. Hearing it's nice.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So whenever people talking about Hydrelief and they see you wearing the shirt, what are they asking? What do they want to know? What's kind of the consumer or the potential consumer's questions whenever they come to your table?
The first one is, does it hurt? that's been a huge hurdle to jump. Does it hurt, and is it necessary? Those are two big questions that everybody asks. And it's probably one of the reasons that it's always, especially in the past, it's been this like small little market that nobody's really ever touched on. Mm-hmm. Does it hurt? For a second, it's a pinch. I'm sure we've all gotten pinched by our parents, our guardians, whatever. Right. They come up behind you, pinch you. You get the sweet old lady that comes and pinches your cheeks, and like it hurts for a second, but it's for a second. You know what I mean? And it's over. There's no more pokes after that. There's no more pain, and then you're on your way to feeling better. And is it necessary? Absolutely. It's what is a day in your life worth to you? Is it worth sitting there and being miserable, whether you're hungover, whether you're sick, or should I call somebody up and be like, hey man, can you come help me out? So yeah, it's necessary. Fluids are necessary. Vitamins are necessary. These are things that are necessary in everybody's life. And you can't always just drink a bottle of water. Sometimes that doesn't cut it. Yeah. Sometimes you're so dehydrated that you cannot drink a bottle of water. Right? In comes Hydrelief. And so, yes, in my opinion, it certainly is necessary, especially in the day-to-day life of people and those that want to be healthier and do better for their lives and do better not only for theirs, but their kids and their family. Take care of yourself so that way you can take care of others.
And on that kind of idea, I know I've heard of a story through Hydrelief about there's a guy, he owns a ranch down in South Texas. Well, he was sick for a week, and you guys came in and gave him some fluids and got perked right up. And he's 50, 60 years old, and he perked right up, and he was like ready to go again. And it's like this new life. And so are you going to go stand out in the South Texas heat without the hydration fluids, or have Hydrelief come in, farmers and ranchers, here's another input, like, you guys, it's good for the goose and the gander.
Yeah.
In this case, that cowboy out there. I mean, everybody wants to show how tough they are.
Sure.
But you can show a little bit more how tough you are by getting stuck with a needle. Because truth be told, I get to hear my wife say this, and I'm sure you hear it all the time. Let's just public service announcement. Nobody likes needles. I've never met one person that, I like needles.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So. And this isn't a knock to anybody who tells your doctor or nurse that you don't like needles, so I don't like shots. Take a ticket number, get in line. Nobody likes needles. Yeah, public service announcement there.
Nobody likes needles. Yeah, neither do I. So,
right. So let's join the club.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So I don't know if that was the needles thing. I don't know if that's the biggest myth in the industry, but you have your questions. What is the biggest myth that you potentially see or hear out in general public, or maybe on the day-to-day on the job, about Hydrelief or IV drip solutions and things like that?
I don't know if it's necessarily, I think the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know if it's necessarily a myth, but we had somebody that was like, well, isn't this this is a waste of fluids. Those fluids belong in the hospital, and you're just blowing through those fluids, and we're on a fluid shortage or whatever. And, well, no. First off, there's plenty of fluids out there. Yeah, we get on shortages. There's obviously outlying reasons, but there's always going to be some. And we're not wasting them. It goes back to this preventative medicine. Is the leader of fluid from Hydrelief going into this person, providing them the hydration that's preventing them from going to the ER for a simple issue, a simple complaint of dehydration, then exposing themselves once they're at the ER to what? The flu, coronavirus, flu more important.
Hot topic, right?
Yeah, exactly. But so giving them this liter of fluid that they needed because they're dehydrated, and keeping them from going when they don't necessarily need to go to the ER or go to their primary care physician, and exposing not only themselves but others to whatever else is in the air.
Oh my gosh.
The ER is clean, but it's gross, and there is so many germs, so many illnesses that are spread all throughout it, and you're exposing your body to that. So to say that it's not necessary or we're wasting it is that's a myth. It's not being wasted, at least in my opinion, and I think any of our customers would agree with that as well.
Yeah, and that doubles back down on preventative care. I mean, people use the ER like it's their it's their primary care physician, and I mean that's all. It's a discussion for another podcast, not this one. But just the idea that you're preventing to have to go to a place that you could potentially expose yourself to, I mean, frankly, life-threatening diseases.
Absolutely. Like the flu.
Like the flu,
That's,
which
yep.
here we are, flu season.
Yep.
So coronavirus and whatever else that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I'm pretty sure all I have is allergies, people. So it's the first time to talk about it on today's show, but yeah,
We'll know
allergies. Central Texas. I think Central Texans can kind of get behind. Let's eliminate the allergies. Let's just burn up all the trees just to get rid of the allergies.
Right.
So as far as, you've read books and you're mid-20s or however old you are, again.
24.
24, right?
Yep.
So he's 24 years old. There's some people that might sit out there and think, like this guy's young. He doesn't know what he's doing. But I'm sure there is a point where you're like, man, I wish I knew that then. So the $1 million question is, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? And then could be whenever you were 5 years old. Then could be yesterday. But what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Well, let me hit on a point of real quick, because what you said certainly it hits home for me, because I was told in the past that, you're just a kid, you don't know what you're talking about. And that resonated with me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, of course, we all think, we know everything. Mm-hmm. You don't. Be humble and understand that you don't know everything. And I certainly don't know everything. In fact, I have no idea what I'm doing, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I was certainly told that, you're just a kid, you don't know what you're talking about. And this was, I don't know, less than a year ago.
What do you know now? Question being, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
So that's a great question. If I could,
because you don't regret anything.
Yeah.
And that's, I would double down on that too. Mm-hmm. And maybe we can circle back to the question, because that part of the conversation, whenever you were saying it earlier, just kind of spoke to me and hopefully the listeners, that it's not that, there's things that you wish you could do differently, but you don't regret it, because at that point in time, that's what you wanted. You made that decision.
Yeah.
And I know for me, whenever I'm 70 years old or 80 years old, there's things that I want to look back on and say, I'm glad that I tried this.
Yeah.
Instead of, I wish I would have tried that.
So you know what? I think something that I wish I could, if I could write a letter to myself when I was younger, it was, and I think anybody our age can attest to this.
Right.
And it was instilled in us and pressured into us. I mean, going to school. So continue, go to college. That's what I mean. So everybody has to go to college. You're going to go to college. If you don't go to college, you're going to be unsuccessful. Guess what? I haven't been there. I do not have a degree. And I wish that I could have told myself back in the day that, hey, man, continue your education, but you don't have to go to college. You don't need, because there was it caused so much pressure, so much stress in my life when I was younger, that I certainly was not, I think I could have been capable of more had I not been like, oh man, like what do I need to go to college for? And how do I go to college? And I mean, it was so pressured into us that they literally had days during our senior year that they sat down and forced us to apply to colleges. Like that was what we were doing. That was the day. You're going to sit here and you're going to apply to colleges, because guess what? You're going as soon as you get out. And, it's continuing education is certainly necessary.
Right.
It does not mean going to college. I've continued my education through books. I've continued my education through YouTube, which has been, man, that's like it. There's so many classes on YouTube, and it's not necessary you don't have to go to college. Go to college if you want to. Yeah. But man, so much money is wasted into it. I can't tell you how many people are out there, how many people I know, people my age that went to college and they wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And they have a degree, a piece of paper, and nothing to be said for it.
Right.
Well, great. You went to a class with everybody else, but what did you learn from it? What did you get from it? And I think that's something that says to like trade school. I mean, that's what I did. I went to paramedic school, and we focused on that every day we went in. It wasn't learning what the what pi is, or
Right, right.
a squared, whatever.
Yeah,
But none of that.
whatever they talk about in school these days.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about what I loved, and that was medicine and how to take care of people, and that was important to me. And I mean, again, I look at my life as a successful life because, like I said, it's not finances, it's not any of that. It's not stuff. It's who people I've helped, and knowing that I've at least made a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to college for that, and you can't teach that in college. So I think if I could, we'll go back to the question: if I could go either write a letter to myself or give myself a phone call, be like, "Hey, man, don't worry about college.
Yeah.
Just do what you love and make sure you follow that passion."
Man, that whole conversation, and I feel like we're going to get into it about that because that really resonates with me, being in public education and just seeing the system from the inside and how it's just bass backwards. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Yes, sir.
We have a system that for public education, and I've only been a teacher for 2 years. Now, I know there's teachers who have been teaching for 30 years and they have their beliefs and things, but the education system is outdated. It is whatever it looks like now. It's been operating the same way as far as the curriculum and the content has been for the last 50 years. We were successful as a country 50 years ago. But guess what? Right now, China is more dirty than we are, and they are more hungry than we are. And in our lifetimes, I feel like we could be seeing the rise of, and this isn't a doom and gloom prophecy, but it's like China could be growing because they're dirtier and they're more hungry than we are.
Yep.
And that starts in education. And right now, the reason China could be potentially more hungry than we are, well, they're getting to choose, they're getting to pursue their things. We, as Americans, are beginning to believe that everybody has to go to school. And it's almost this idea that is driving, we had the housing market crash in 2008 whenever we were still in school, but it could potentially become a problem where maybe it's the student debt crisis becomes the next downfall of the United States. And I wish I could take credit for that. I've listened to some people out there that specifically have been talking on that, but just that idea that these kids are being told that everyone's going to go to school and that's how you get a degree. Well, what separates you is not that piece of paper. It's your knowledge of, everybody can be taught something. In college, everybody says, or in school, you're learning how to learn. Okay, well, if that's what you're doing, then why don't we learn about things that we're passionate about? And like you said, trade school, and trying to find, as a public educator myself, trying to find what's interesting to these students to then give them the passion that whenever I wake up at 3:00 in the morning talking about podcast or whatever, I want them to have that passion because passion doesn't change. Hurt doesn't change whenever you're 12 years old and you lose someone in your life, or whether you're 100 years old and you've lost somebody close to you. The hurt doesn't change.
No.
But the passion's the same too. If you're like, oh my gosh, everybody knows that feeling because we're human. And so being able to put that passion in our kids, in our youth, or write the letter back to ourselves and say, hey man, there's people out there that, hey, they're successful. Bankers, nurses, doctors, you have to go to school for that stuff. But you don't have to do those things to be successful.
Exactly. Hey, you absolutely nailed it there. And I'm not saying don't go to school, right? You have to continue your education because you have to never stop learning. And never stop, whether it's learning from somebody else, whether it's learning from a book, watching YouTube, whatever you're doing. Never stop learning. But school, you nailed it, man. School is so outdated. And college is so outdated. And it's so behind. And these people, it's just a waste of time and money. I mean, these kids are going into college thinking, man, I'm going to go to college for 4 years, and guess what? I'm going to have a $100,000 career coming right out the bat. No. It is not like that at all. Not even close. Some people, sure, yeah, absolutely. Some people are extremely successful in college, and then guess what? They did great, and they got out and got a job. The majority of people, and the majority of the people that I know, it's not like that.
Right.
They get out, they're making less than so I've been in the field now for 4 years, would be the amount of time that somebody went to college, right? And so I've had friends that come out of college, they've graduated with this 4-year, pretty beautiful paper. They got a plaque. They walk the stage, all that stuff, and now they're working for $30,000 a year at a automotive shop, let's say,
Right.
and their boss doesn't have a degree, but they're sitting there and they have this
got the
bachelor's degree, right?
Yeah.
But who's their boss, right?
Right.
So again, not down talking any jobs, and certainly not the automotive, but what I am down talking is the way college is done and the way it's run, at least. It's I call it a scam, frankly. I mean, you're sitting here, you're showing this big picture. You're going to be a millionaire when you get out of college because you got that 4-year degree. Yeah. Oh, but hey, let me have $250,000, and that's a debt, and there's going to be lots of interest on it, and you got to pay it off, and you got to pay it off with your $30,000 paycheck.
Yeah, good luck. That's an idea that I just that came to mind as well. It's like I believe that the average student debt, I'm probably wrong, but it's probably between $40,000 and $60,000 average per person. And if there's some business, I mean, I know, there's people going to Texas A&M who are getting into mechanical engineering that they get a job, they could be making good money, like you said. They put the time and effort and money in, they're still able to do that. But as a teacher, for teaching example, you go to school, you get into $60,000 in debt. Well, you're not going to make $60,000 a year as a teacher until you're at least 10 years in. And we're talking about a year's salary. If you're able to find somebody to help support you, then you can pay it off in a year.
Great. Yeah.
Great. But not many people are able to do that anyways. Right. And so you're talking about a return on your investment. Well, yeah, you get a job now. Like the return on your investment is that you get that job, but you're still 10 years in, and now I'm just now recouped from all that money that I spent. Whereas someone who's gone to trade school, learned the trade, paid a little bit of money for it, but learned the trade, and now they have a life skill that can translate whether there's electricity in the streets, internet out there or not. They can operate their skill. So yeah, we doubled down on education system for a second.
Sorry.
No, it's a good thing, man. Yeah. It's a conversation that's very important, and hopefully, like with podcasting and YouTube and our show, this is an opportunity for us to write, or you to write a letter to. Well, you can't write the letter to yourself, but there's probably a 16 to 20-year-old kid out there that his parents might be telling him he needs to go to college. All the counselors says he needs to go to college, but the kid he's a growing mind that you just might need that encouragement to say, you know what, find what you're passionate about. And if you're good at it at 16, then why not push it?
Take it. Go with it. Why not
push it and test that envelope and see where that takes you.
Keep trying. Don't give up. That's just don't follow. Everybody has an agenda.
Yeah.
And you're not always on their agenda, whether they're talking to you and whether they're giving you advice or not.
Yeah.
But I assure you, as long as you're following your passion, as long as you're doing what you love, you will be successful.
And you've got two cheerleaders here, like Davis and Nolan. Here at the Central Texas Business Podcast, we're cheerleaders for you. If just reach. If we're gonna get to Davis's contact stuff here, the show stuff's already out there. You got two cheerleaders for you. If nothing else, we can be your cheerleader. pat you on the rear end to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Yep. And that's what we do. What we do too is to help others. And the business podcast here helping maybe other people who are starting businesses grow and learn too. But it's ultimately helping. We're trying to get the word out to help others. I'm trying to get Hydrelief word out there even more than they already have because they're doing a great job with that. But just to get them to be able to help more folks. And that's what it is. You care. You have some passion about that. So man, that's a big writing that letter to yourself. I'm going to take that one. So as far as we're kind of winding down here, unless we go off on another tangent, which is fine.
Sure.
If you had unlimited resources, what hire today would you make? And for what reason?
That's a great question. If I had unlimited resources
that you couldn't spend on yourself, right? Because
sure, fair enough. Yeah,
fair enough.
Right now, it maybe is simpler, but a secretary to do my scheduling and to plan out my day. That would certainly, I think, grow Hydrelief a lot. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. It's almost. I'm not going to say we have enough right now, but
Right.
it's just. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest with you.
Well, and you were talking about it earlier, and I mentioned it. Like you're still hiring. You guys are hiring some techs to go out into the field and things like that. So those are definitely things that you're interested in still. Yeah. So Davis saying that's a tough question is not saying that he's not hiring. Yeah. But what he is saying right now is if there's somebody out there who, they're interested in clerical work. They're interested in helping other, business people try and grow. Like the idea is to surround yourself. We said it earlier, surround yourself with people who you want to be like. And Davis and Hydrelief could be a company in the budding stages. Like, hey, maybe you can help Davis on the weekends I'm going to say for free, because there's nothing like going and working for somebody who is where you want to be in 2 years or 5 years, learning from them. That's the payment. And this isn't to, bash or try and make it sound like I don't want Davis to have to pay you. But if you're able to get in and learn the business because you're helping Davis with scheduling, you're learning a trade and a skill that is a tenfold investment. Like in school, you pay a professor or an institution, we're going back to it. Yeah. $60,000 to be in debt to learn how to learn or learn some cool, interesting whatevers. Yeah. But if you're working in this company, Hydrelief, that is 4 years old, that has this vision of growth and not just a vision, there's proven steps that have been taken, and you're interested in like riding the coattail, like, email Davis like, hey, what can I help you with scheduling? Why? My encouragement is to those out there who are just trying to learn what that looks like. Step out, open up, give them a call, give them a shout, things like that. But that's not for everybody. But it's an opportunity. I don't know. I
tell you, if I had unlimited resources, and I think we'll touch on me saying that we have enough. What I mean by that is what I have right now is amazing. And I'm talking about our team. So if I had unlimited resources, if I could copy and paste the team that I have now, that's backing Hydrelief, man, if I could copy and paste that tenfold, holy cow, we would be a household name because this team is amazing. Right. So if I could multiply our team, that's what I would do. If I had unlimited resources, I would multiply our team.
We would get into genetic cloning. And,
if I could genetically clone every single team member that I have right now, yes.
Money's unlimited resources. Like, here we go. Like,
amen. Absolutely.
Warren Buffett over Steve Jobs, RIP, over Jeff Bezos. Like, you've got all the resources. So, yeah, man, clone them all up.
Absolutely.
Get that team expanded. That's awesome. So back to kind of wrapping up the idea about Hydrelief and wanting to get the focus onto the services that you offer, because this podcast is not only you able to talk about the background of the business, but it's also getting to talk about what services you offer and like how to connect with you, because ultimately we have this hour-long or 45-minute episode that the people get to listen to. Okay, now what, Davis? We want services, but you didn't really get a chance to talk to them. Well, here's your chance. What services officially are on Hydrelief's webpage? What are you guys doing?
So we start with our bread and butter, like we discussed earlier. That's our hangover treatments. We start with our basic all the way up to like a premier professional package. Starts with just some medications, a little bit of vitamins, and those help out with headaches, nausea, vomiting, upset stomach, low energy, fatigue, dehydration. Those really nail those in. And then we also offer stuff for wellness and preventative medicine, whether we have immune boosters for like vitamin C. We have different natural ways to boost your energy as opposed to sitting there and drinking caffeine or sitting there smashing a Red Bull or whatever it may be. We have natural, much easier ways on your body to do that through our wellness infusions that we have. And not only that, we also have stuff to detox your body. Get rid of, if you've been on, maybe you had to take antibiotics for a week or two. Maybe you had to take some narcotics, different pain medications, things like that. And you want to get rid of the nasty stuff that it left in your body, because all the medications that we take, there's a lot of them that they leave little bits and pieces of themselves back in your body that later on cause other issues and other health issues. And we have stuff that will help get rid of that and help flush that out of your body. And then, so that goes into like our detox or even our pre-tox. So let's say you're going out and going to party, or you're going out and going to be working in the sun, like our farmers, or anything like that in which you're going to be putting a lot of stress, or working out even. Go ahead and get one of our pre-tox and get that infusion, get some fluids in you, get a little bit of vitamins and some other antioxidants that we have to offer. Get that in your body. You'll not only perform better, but you'll feel better after as well.
Yeah, it's the recovery on the end of it.
Yes.
Like we're doing prehab, so we don't have to do the rehab.
Exactly. Exactly.
That idea from sports medicine, we're preventative care. And after you're done working, you almost don't have to go back and lay in the bed if you've worked a hard day in the field. It's like, man, I'm energized to be with the kids. I'm energized to be with the wife and family and go hang out with the friends some more. Like that's what it's about. We get one life, we get one shot at this. And if we're letting our energy suffer because of our lack of vitamins or our lack of, preventative care before, well, why not call up Davis and Hydrelief and be like, hey, I want what you're talking about. I want what you're selling over there. Let's see what this is about. So if they're trying to find out what this is about, in the show notes below, and also on Twitter and Facebook, whenever we get the podcast aired, we're going to have Davis's information, but we'll give Davis an opportunity right now to share ways to get in contact with Hydrelief.
So the main way is you can go online, especially if it's during the weekends, you can go online and book an infusion through our website. You can go through Facebook, Google, Twitter, any of those social media or web pages. You can find us. You can find us at hydrelief.com. And then if there's something that's just not fitting your schedule, or something, maybe there's not an appointment availability that you're looking for, give us a call. And somebody will answer the phone. And if we don't, we'll certainly get back to you as quick as possible. And we'll work on finding you somebody that'll get out there. Whether there's an appointment available or not, we'll do our best to find somebody to come out to you. And more often than not, we're usually able to cover most appointments. So if all else fails, give us a call.
All right. Well, that kind of basically wraps it up. And Davis, I just wanted to say we appreciate you, and I know our listeners appreciate you for coming on the podcast and talking about Hydrelief. So I just wanted to give you that opportunity to have any last words before you come in or before we shut it down, to say whatever you had on mind about coming on the show or doing more business with Hydrelief or whatever. Yeah. Just kind of give you the opportunity.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come onto this. And I think it's great, certainly, to get our message out there and our word out there. It's a great facet to do that. Yeah. And we really appreciate it as a company. So thank you. And make a difference. I think that's the key thing to take away from any of this, is as long as you're making a difference, you're successful.
There it is. This is the Central Texas Business Podcast with Davis Winget and Hydrelief. We came at you, had some conversations about education. We had some conversations about infusion and everything in between. Davis, again, thank you for coming on, and we hope to see you guys grow. And here in a couple months or years, we might have you back on to see where you guys are at. Hopefully this podcast was worth your guys' listening time. I know it was worth my conversation time with Davis, and we'll see you guys down the road. Thanks again.
Brother, thank you.